more?
Yeah.
I went back a bit.
Witness. Sustained. Okay. How does Thomas feel about lying to his friends?
I'd say he's even more nervous about lying to his friends about why he's skipping the wedding.
Why do you think that scares him so much?
Because he could get caught in a lie.
Why is that so scary?
I don't know. It could hurt Mary Lee and Lee.
But will they punish Thomas?
How old are you?
Will Thomas get in trouble?
No.
So what's the big deal? I mean, why is it so bad if they get upset?
I don't know.
I mean, if they're not gonna hurt Thomas back, then why are we worried about him? Ow.
Because it sucks. Because it hurts Thomas when he hurts his friends.
Why?
I don't know. Because he's Thomas.
That's right, he is. I rest my case. Yeah, until the next witness. All right, next witness.
Oh, your name is Roman, correct?
The one and lonely. What? Freudian slip.
So, Roman, can you spell your name for the court?
Easy.
Really, obviously, muscular, and nice.
R-O-M-A-N.
Ooh, I'm afraid that's wrong. It's actually spelled W-R-O-A-M-M-I-N.
No, it is not.
Take him away, he's a fake.
What? I am not that. I am the real Roman.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. Oh, you know I love you.
Oh, yeah, totally.
All right, actual.
We have such a crowded front. Oh my god. You want to guess who just started hanging out because of that?
Because of what?
The little, like, taunting that Deceit was just doing with Roman.
I don't know. Also,
Chaos.
I don't know what Deceit spelled.
He just did a really convoluted spelling of Roman's name, which is not accurate. To just gaslight him into thinking he didn't know how to spell his own name.
Objection. Hearsay.
First question. Is it not one of your many duties to help Thomas achieve his hopes and dreams?
Yes, it is my sworn duty.
And how's that been going for you?
Like duty. It feels like no matter how hard I fight or how much progress I make, something more important always comes around to knock us back to where we started.
So the wedding is more important?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it marks the end of Lee and Mary Lee's quests for the Holy Veil. We get to watch Mary Lee, merrily, and their life becomes a dream.
So let me get this straight. The best thing for us to do is sit with a crowd of strangers, watch two people shove cake into each other's mouths, make out, and tell each other how much they love each other, while dressed like a butler and a princess.
You're darn right.
Level with me here. Is Thomas secretly in love with Lee?
No.
So he doesn't plan on objecting to their union as part of a dramatic declaration of his undying love for Lee?
No.
Who is more important in this friendship? Lee and Mary Lee or Thomas?
I see what you're doing. You're trying to trick me into saying that Lee and Mary Lee are more important, but I know that everyone's equal.
And yet, we're prioritizing the wedding over the callback, and therefore, their wants over ours.
Yes.
One last thing. Stay with me here. Say you had a stereotypical relationship between a man and a woman.
You lost me.
Okay. Let me simplify. When two people want different things, what is the most fair solution?
Compromise?
Very good. Now, in this
So
situation,
patronizing.
what is the compromise?
Okay. Thomas goes to the wedding, but he's totally skipping their next major life event if he wants to.
Okay. Do you think everyone would be happy with that?
I don't think anyone would be happy with that.
Huh. So maybe fair isn't always ideal. That seems to be how they see it, anyway. It would be fair if both parties got to have their special days. But ideally for them, they get to have their big day. And Thomas has to watch. No further questions. Smirk. Did he just say smirk? My turn?
Yeah, the detail that was the biggest thing to get us the first time we watched this was that line. That apparently what is morally right for Thomas to do and what is ideal for his friends is they get everything they want, and Thomas has to watch them get everything they want and get none of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, making this a matter of consent also makes it a lot less morally complicated, I think. Because consent can change at any time. Just because he agreed to go to the wedding before doesn't mean he has to hold himself to that no matter what. Just because I agreed to do something with you yesterday doesn't mean I still want to do it today, and I don't have to do it just because yesterday I would have been okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. But I've also done a lot of work to get more comfortable with the idea of selfishness and that it's not inherently bad. That there are a lot of situations where you get to prioritize yourself, and there are a lot of situations where you can choose whether or not to prioritize yourself, and neither of those options is wrong.
I wouldn't call that selfishness.
Yeah, I guess I
feel
don't
like
know another word to
selfishness
use.
is a negatively connotated word.
It
and
definitely is.
Using it when there are probably better words to use might be more suitable.
Mhm.
Prioritizing oneself is not inherently selfish. It is literally prioritizing oneself. It is
Yeah.
it's a form of triage in a sense of ranking the priority of something, and
Mhm.
just because you happen to need it more than they do doesn't mean you're being selfish. It's
Yeah.
just that's how it got ranked.
But I guess that's the other thing, is to use the idea of triage. When I'm prioritizing things, I don't need to try to be unbiased in prioritizing them and figure out what is truly the most important thing overall. I get to set my priority. You know?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's most important to me is probably not the same thing that's most important to you in any given situation. And depending on the situation, I might sometimes choose to do the thing that's important to you instead of the thing that's important to me, but it is okay for me to choose the thing that's important to me instead. And there are a lot of cases where you can do both, or something somewhere kind of in between. Like, I might be able to shift my priority for right now to something for you, but then tomorrow my priority 100% no matter what, outside of emergencies, has to be this thing for me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are also a lot of situations where you can communicate essentially that it wasn't all or nothing. That just because you prioritized something else a little higher doesn't mean you didn't care about the other thing. Because, there are so many situations, especially with the semester of school for us, where we want to hang out with you, or we want to do YouTube and live streaming stuff or whatever, but we have to prioritize school because of this specific phase of life we're in and financial consequences, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are situations where we have to prioritize our mental, emotional, physical well-being over school for that moment. And there are situations where we prioritize, an emergency with you, for instance, over school, and so on. And those things can shift very quickly and unexpectedly.
Mm-hmm.
And I no longer believe that people need to map out in advance exactly where all of the various priorities lie, so that you don't end up making a spur-of-the-moment decision type thing. Because I don't think you can predict everything. But yeah, the highest priority is almost never the only thing someone cares about.
Roman, imagine if you will.
Done.
You've met an extremely handsome and wonderful prince. The second most handsome prince in the world.
Wait. Why can't I meet the first most handsome prince?
Because that's you knucklehead.
Oh, you need to chill.
Suck up. Now you're marrying that prince. Congratulations.
Score!
Who do you want at your wedding?
Liza Minnelli.
Ring, ring, ring. Who's this? What? No, I'll tell him. She said she's going.
Yay, Liza!
Oh, what's that? Terrible news? Okay, she canceled. That bitch! Her puppy's sick. She had to go to the vet, you monster.
Family emergency. I get it. Don't love it, but I get it.
Oh, she lied. I just checked her Snapchat and she's at her burlesque show.
Well, I guess life really is a cabaret, Miss Minnelli.
All right, and conclude. That was just a scene. It was all just a scene. Now, how would you feel about that?
It wouldn't bother me. Her not being there doesn't change the fact that it's my big day.
You wouldn't miss Liza May Minnelli?
So I would be devastated. But you know what? She's her own person, and she has her own life. I can't take that from her. Her being at the wedding is for me. And if I forced her to be there when she didn't want to go, then I would be the selfish one. Next witness.
Okay, okay. Well, deceit. Let's get this over with.
Let's.
So, deceit. If that is your real name.
It is.
You always seem to have some bigger plan, some agenda.
Doesn't everyone?
Well, not everyone is so secretive about theirs.
Everything has a purpose, and sometimes fulfilling your purpose requires keeping things close to the chest.
Well, you're under oath, which I think means you gotta tell us. Why the courtroom scenario? Why pick a setting where the truth comes to hang out?
Oh, we're going with that.
Oh,
honey, the truth hangs out in the courtroom? That's a laugh and a half.
No, that's a statement. Logan, that's a statement, right?
Yeah, that's a statement. I don't know what he's talking about. Courts and laws are some of the higher powers in society. And society is made of lies. Society itself is a lie.
Then what's the truth?
You get enough people to share a piece of land and breathe the same air, and you've got a society. Why? It's just a bunch of people in the same general area. It's an abstract concept, as real as the monster under your bed. But we obey these rules, or get punished for breaking them. All in the name of society. It's absurd and terrifying.
Okay. What does any of this have to do with Thomas?
I don't want Thomas to be disadvantaged in a world where you can die for not following the laws made in the name of a lie. Okay, I can't believe...
I'm just gonna throw out here that if we're taking a system perspective on this whole thing, the way that I would immediately analyze that whole thing from Deceit right there is this is his black and white absolute reasoning rooted in trauma, where he thinks any and all means to protect Thomas from this one thing is worth it and justified. Which is the basis for a lot of persecutor behavior, is there is something that is the ultimate worst possible thing, and nothing else is remotely as bad and is therefore justifiable to use any means necessary to prevent that one ultimate bad thing. You know?
I didn't follow what you were saying. Sorry.
It's okay.
My brain didn't follow that. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to rephrase it a little. Basically, that there is a trauma-informed, scariest thing that is very real and tangible to that persecutor. And if they can prevent that scariest thing, whatever it might be, from happening, it doesn't matter what they have to do to accomplish that. Preventing that scariest thing is the only thing that matters to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just that it's the worst thing they can imagine. It's so much worse than anything else they can imagine. It's so absolute that other things, like, almost aren't bad in comparison. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And there's almost a mindset you can get in that boils down to, like, a very cynical idea that everything is some amount of bad. So, like, doing bad things to prevent worse things is obviously justifiable in the same way that doing good things to prevent bad things would be justifiable, if you believe that nothing is good. So there are a lot of, like, absolute and very stubborn ideas that you can have, and a lot of, like, cynical ideology and fear.
Mm-hmm.
And also some, like, mental gymnastics to get there, basically, of like, a lot of the arguments that come up, like, I've heard mostly medical arguments, essentially, but it's the type of thing of, like, it doesn't matter how much it hurts to, like, reset a broken bone, because that's what you need to do to prevent, like, worse medical results.
Correct.
But, like, you
only
wouldn't
for a
do
broken
that.
bone.
You wouldn't, like, break someone's arm for no reason, but if you're breaking it for a good enough reason, then of course that's what you do. It's that kind of reasoning, just taken to an extreme.
There is an inherent problem with that.
There's a lot of problems with it.
Oh yeah, but specifically, one of the problems is the reason that that solution is okay sometimes is because the people who can make that decision are trained to do so. Like,
Mm-hmm.
making a medical decision when you're not a doctor is not legal.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why them making the decision to break that arm is the right thing to do, because they are trained in that.
Instead
Just
of...
like
Go ahead.
any mental health decisions, stuff like that, making them yourself just because the basis of you think that's best isn't necessarily right, because you might think it's right for you, but you're also not a trained professional in that area, and you may be very, very wrong, and that could be the worst thing for you to do. So doing it because you think it's the best reason isn't a good reason.
Yeah.
But there are times when those decisions are the right thing to do.
I agree. There can be cases where extreme means are called for.
Yeah.
Or it's
Like
the only
surgery
thing you
is
can
surgery.
think of. Even if there might have been a better option, it's the only option you knew of, and so it's the one that you took, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But to play devil's advocate, essentially, as an ex-persecutor who had a lot of these mindsets, there's a lot of distrust of external sources a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's especially extreme with professionals in their field. So I was not only not going to take a medical or mental health professional at their word, but I was more likely to assume they were lying to me and manipulating me.
Mm-hmm.
To, like, gain something in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Control me, whatever. So the fact that they were disagreeing with something that I so thoroughly believed must be true, on top of that, was going to be, like, obviously we can't trust them with anything ever again, because they disagreed with this thing that I'm so certain of. But there's also a component of, like, the immediate response that I had to you using the example of the professional in their field is, yeah, it's their job, and it's my job to do this thing to prevent this other thing.
Yes, but you are not
And
trained in this specific area.
arguably I was trauma trained.
No,
I
specifically.
know what you're saying, but like,
No. Saying that.
okay.
You were trained to find the solution. You may not be trained in putting the solution into practice, but you were trained to find that solution. So if the answer is to like get your arm rebroken and put in a cast, then your job was to go to the doctor, not do it yourself.
Yeah,
And a lot
that's
of
fair.
persecutor mindset is, oh, well, this is the obvious answer, so I have to do it,
Yeah.
and you're the wrong person to do it. Good job for finding the answer. That doesn't mean you're supposed to do it.
On top of all of that, there's... Oh, come on, brain.
There is no brain here.
Oh, there's cognitive dissonance, too, of... particularly when you have already been doing something that you have done a lot, that you on any level define yourself based on that thing. If someone challenges that and tries to tell you that the thing that you have been doing that you use to define who you are is bad and wrong, a lot of mental emotional processes try to put you in denial about that possibility because of how stressful and emotional it is to accept the possibility that you have been doing something bad, that you have been that wrong about that many things for that long. So once you have already been doing it, especially if you on any level believe that it works, because I also had the mindset of, I don't care if there are other possible ways to handle this. I already know that my way works, so why would I risk something else when the consequences are so extreme? You know?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to try anything that might not work, or might not work as well, or might only work sometimes, or whatever.
That also comes from a place, not only dissonance, but arrogance, that just
Yeah.
because what you've been doing worked doesn't mean it was the best solution. It just means you found a solution. But
Yeah.
ultimate knowledge and truth and all that bullshit is bullshit. Nobody possesses ultimate knowledge about everything. Nobody is, even experts in their field have points they don't know about or don't know about the best. And even if they're an expert in their field and literally know everything there is to know about that topic, they don't know everything about everything else, which may change some of the information that they possess.
Yeah.
So, trying new things just because you found something that worked is claiming that you are right above everything else to a point.
Yeah. But I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I took on a lot of responsibility, and I convinced myself that it was my job to be the bad guy so that no one else had to be, and specifically to make the really hard decisions and do the things that hurt but were necessary. And I had such an absolute perspective on the consequences of me failing to do my job that any level of risk of trying anything that might not be absolutely successful was not worth it. And the possibility that anybody might stop listening to me when I needed them to listen to me, or whatever, like, I couldn't be nice to people because then they wouldn't do what I told them to do when it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of reasoning. And I couldn't accept the possibility that there were better ways, but I, maybe even more importantly, couldn't accept the reality that our situation had dramatically changed and no longer called for such extreme measures. Because we weren't in such extreme danger. And it, like, the risk was much lower than I believed it to be. And so my methods were not remotely called for under the circumstances. Before this just becomes therapy for me, let's keep going.
I'm saying this, but that was so edgy and over the top. We're talking about a wedding here.
Am I being over the top?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought we were having a discussion about rights and wrongs, shoulds and shouldn'ts. In a society, those labels are deadly serious.
Okay, let me ask you another question.
No, let me ask you a question.
Do you know of Max Stirner?
I know Max Sternest. He's really hard on his kids. Thank you, everyone. Try the Mind Palace buffet.
I know. Ooh.
Go ahead, Logan.
Max Stirner was a racist, drunken, anarchist philosopher who squandered most of his wife's inheritance on his failed milk startup.
Oh. We're just going to focus on the philosopher part today. A central aspect of Stirner's view of the world is that there is nothing greater than an individual. The powers above are like boogeymen, except we believe in them, and in some cases, we fear them. So with that in mind, why is going to the wedding more important than the callback?
Because it feels better to give something to someone else than take something for yourself.
But Thomas won't enjoy giving the bride and groom his time, because it costs something very important to him. Not only does this go against your claim, but it discourages Thomas from performing more acts of selflessness in the future. Try again.
The wedding is more important because Thomas should support his friends.
Why are their wants more important than Thomas's?
They're not, but friendship is more important than acting in our own self-interest.
And there it is. We've found our boogeyman. Friendship. That is the abstract that is being treated as greater than the individual. Another idea that is central to Stirner's philosophy is egoism, or putting it simply, acting in your own self-interest.
That's wrong.
No, you're wrong. See, the way Max Stirner saw it, everyone is an egoist. And you either know it or you don't.
Wow, this Stirner guy sounds like a bummer to the max.
On the contrary.
You get it? Max Stirner? He gets it.
On the contrary, Stirner was rather starry-eyed. He believed that no one was more important than anyone else. And if everyone understood everyone else to be equals, then maybe we could have a society where you could either work with others towards a mutual benefit, or be left to your own devices, if that's what you want.
Wait, did you just say he thought all people were equal? Because Logan said he was racist.
And I said we weren't focusing on that today.
That's what that tripped me up too.
Racism is literally the opposite of seeing all people as equal.
Look, the point is, Thomas is an unconscious egoist, and this dilemma is actually between something that serves him versus something else that serves him. Between looking and feeling like a good friend and a dream come true.
If Thomas wanted to be seen as a good friend more than he wanted the role of a lifetime, well then I'm all for that. But I just don't buy it. I'm through with my questioning.
Correction, that was more like lecturing.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're not sitting this one out.
All right, now it's my turn to cross-examine the witness. What do you know?
I know nothing. Where were you when the underwear was left on the floor? I need the truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Please stop yelling at me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay, I don't know if I'm cut out for this whole lawyer thing.
Of course you are. I mean, yeah, you cracked under pressure. But nobody's perfect. The important thing is, you're trying your best.
Wow. Thanks, kiddo. Kiddo? I'm old enough to be your father.
Oh!
No more questions. No more.
Now Patton's giving himself therapy too.
Just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. The idea that acting in your own self-interest is inherently wrong, period, is very problematic to me.
It's not wrong to act in your own self-interest. It's also wrong to... Or it's also not wrong to not act in your own self-interest all the time.
Yeah.
That's what giving something away is. Acting in your own self-interest would literally be being greedy all the time for yourself and never caring about anybody else, not having empathy, not having sympathy, none of that, because it doesn't serve you to have that. You'd be lying, stealing, cheating, killing your way to the top of everything, which would morally make you a not great person.
Yeah, but at the same time, as Deceit points out, there are ways to do things for other people in your own self-interest if you get something out of it or emotionally benefit from feeling like a good person, or if you empathize with them enough to feel happy when they're happy, and you can feel happy that you helped make them happier.
I get that, but like Logan said earlier, you would be more productive, quote unquote, if you didn't have any distractions, so giving them any attention might make you feel emotionally better, but it detracts from your overall progress as a human being to do stuff, so it doesn't matter if it makes you feel better. It's not actually good for you. And there are other ways to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, that's true. And I could go back and forth on that all day, but I just think the absolutes tend to fall short.
Absolutes always tend to fall short. Absolutes are shit.
I'm not going to make an absolute statement about absolutes, but I do think they tend to fall short.
It was irony.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny, because I never ironed my clothes. I don't even own an iron.
Mm-hmm.
But I got one from my father.
And now I'd like to call Thomas Sanders to the standers. Nailed it. Hey Thomas, isn't it kind of annoying how a royal wedding can absorb all media attention and potentially distract from more important matters that people need to know about?
I guess so. I mean, the last royal wedding probably wasn't the most important thing going on in the world at the time.
Okay, would you show an 8-year-old an R-rated movie?
Jumping around a bit here, probably not.
Would you agree with a law that bans parents from letting their children watch R-rated movies?
No.
I don't know. I guess not. I would be up to the parents on how they want to raise their kids. What is happening?
So it's okay to have values, but not to universalize them.
Well, I think some things are universally wrong, but for less important things, sure. I mean, you can't decide what's right or wrong for someone else.
Less important things like weddings.
Okay.
You said that the royal wedding wasn't that important. That's royalty, not little Lee and Mary Lee's inconsequential nuptials.
Okay, all right. Well, my personal value is that I should go to the wedding.
But there are values that come naturally to us, and there are some that are instilled in us. You don't speed while driving because you don't want a speeding ticket, not because you feel in your heart that speeding is wrong.
No, what if I fear...
Similarly, you fear being perceived as a bad friend. But you don't want to go to the wedding at all, do you? Admit it.
I plead the 6th.
Oh, sweetie, it's I plead the 5th.
No, the 6th Amendment. The accused is guaranteed the right to a speedy public trial by an impartial jury. Virgil hates the prosecutor, and that's not impartial. Lawyered.
That's right. Well, Roman wants me to win, so...
What? Me? No. Come on.
I know you're lying, Roman. Like I said, everything has a purpose, and you're denying yours. You want that called back so bad, and it will crush you if we miss it. So, with conflicting conflicts of interest all around, I feel like it all kind of evens out.
No!
That doesn't make it...
That's
Not
worse.
at all how that works.
Wrongs do not make
I
right.
wish that sounds so much cuter than this mock courtroom where the principles of law and justice are being disregarded. Okay, seriously, we're not going to perfectly nail every detail. This isn't even a real courtroom. You're sitting on the couch with your eyes closed.
That's fair, but why say it?
Stop stalling and admit it.
What am I doing here right now, Thomas? Am I the snake come to trick you into sinning? Or have you had your mind made up since the moment you received the news about the callback? You didn't even forget about the wedding, did you? It was all an act. Fine, I want to go to the callback. I was planning on playing Word Crush on my phone during the wedding ceremony to keep my mind off the fact that I'm single. I don't want to go. I'm afraid to go. And on top of that, a dream come true fell into my lap, scheduled on the same day. Anyone would want to go to the callback. So, yeah, I tried to force myself to forget about the wedding. And now I want to lie to my friends so they don't hate me for not supporting them. I'm a liar. I'm a liar. Yes! Prosecution rests, or whatever. Let's just call it here and put him out of his misery.
Does the juror have his decision?
Yeah. I hate to say it, but the defendant is guilty on all charges. Who knew convincing people to do something they really want to do could be so easy?
This is a downer.
Well, Your Honor, what's your sentence?
Sentence? I don't know. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
No, a sentence for the verdict. I've been convicted of the crimes, and now, as judge, you have to give me a sentence. A punishment.
Heyo. I hereby sentence you
That's not really necessary. I think now you see that all of this
to
is...
1 day at the St. Clifford's Chapel on the day of Lee and Mary Lee's wedding.
Wait, what?
It's my sworn duty to help Thomas achieve his hopes and dreams. But Thomas wouldn't dream of attaining his hopes through deceitful means.
But that's not true!
And you're a beacon of truth?
Oh, did I say that? I missed the part where I said that.
I don't understand. You got what you wanted. You proved that I'm not as honest as I'd like to believe.
But you're still missing the point. Didn't it seem kind of ridiculous taking this matter so seriously to the point of settling it in a legal setting?
I don't know, it seemed pretty important to do that kind of stuff all the time.
Whew! Okay, let me put it this way. Life is like a piñata.
Colorful and full of stuff that makes you happy?
Sure, and you want that stuff that makes you happy, right?
Do I?
Well, in order to get that stuff, you must attack the piñata. But you're wearing a blindfold right now. You can keep playing with the blindfold on if you like the game better that way. But if you take it off, it's easier to get that stuff you want.
Attack the piñata? I believe he's suggesting that you beat someone up and rob their unconscious body, right?
No!
No?
I'm trying to teach you a lesson, but it's literally impossible.
Falsehood.
Oh my God!
Why don't you just leave the teaching to me?
There he is.
Great. Well, I'm sure Thomas's friends would love to know that he's forcing himself to attend their wedding. It's clear you all don't want to listen to reason. But hear this. I'll always be a part of you.
Oh, look at the little tongues.
I'm not going anywhere. And there are smarter ways to get people to do what you want anyway. He said he wasn't going anywhere. He's a classic liar. By deceit, why don't we invite him around more often? Boy, I'm rattled.
Like a rattlesnake?
Patton, that joke was terrible. In a way that was slithered to undreamt of.
Oh!
I got you there.
I'm glad that was a joke.
pause.
For a moment there,
Yeah.
I was dead.
Let's finish the thing.
Yeah.
Devastated.
Roman, I just, I want to thank you for helping to set me straight, despite the cost. I know that that wasn't easy for you.
Sorry, I really hate that.
What?
The moral, often religious thing of I want this thing that I shouldn't want, so I'm going to punish myself with doing the right thing. Just that whole mindset is so toxic. It makes me really angry.
I mean, agreed.
But I'm also getting a little ahead of myself with that because there is technically a part 2 to this episode later on, so.
Let's finish this.
It wasn't. But you're welcome.
Well, it's back to the drawing board for me. If E got a chance at any top-tier accolades, then I need to get back to work.
All right, don't work too hard, Roman.
And just like that, as quickly as he arrived, he was gone.
Yeah, deceit's a weird one.
No, I was talking about myself. It's still difficult to believe that my participation was as restricted as it was. It was Deceit's doing, I'm sure. I would have been a more than worthy foil. Unlike him, I'm skeptical about whether a society could function without some sort of system of laws by which all of its citizens abide.
Well, of course you feel that way. You love rules.
Love is a strong word, but I do appreciate order. And I'm glad to see that the figurative scales of justice have reached equilibrium on this day.
Oh, scales of justice. Logan, you're better at this than I am.
For the love of Archimedes, I will never intentionally make a pun. Well, unlike the tardy teacher, I don't have an issue with strong language. I freaking hated everything about this.
Whew, I was afraid of what you meant by strong language.
Do not allow him or any of his friends to stick around that long ever again.
Okay, but what if
Ever again. Cool?
Cool. Very cool.
Then we're all cool here. Now I'm gonna go be cool somewhere else.
Sorry for lying to you, Thomas.
Lying? What do you mean? When did you lie?
Earlier, I kept telling you how you felt, even though I didn't know the truth. And I turned out to be wrong.
Well, you thought what you said was true.
No, I hoped it was true. Saying something is a fact when you don't have the facts straight is dishonest.
Well, it's okay. I know you were just trying to make sure I did the right thing.
And I really believe you are doing the right thing here, Thomas.
I think I am too. I just wish that what felt right didn't also hurt me.
Well, here's the thing, kiddo. People hurt all the time. By going to the wedding, you're making sure that two of your friends aren't hurt by the absence of someone they really care about. Do you know why you're doing that?
Because it's right?
Because you can't help but imagine putting yourself in other people's shoes.
What if their shoes are stinky?
Well, out of all the shoes to put yourself in, those are the most important. That tendency is a beautiful part of you. You shouldn't give it up for anything. And who knows, maybe one day you'll get to marry the second most handsome prince in the world. And I'll bet Lee and Mary Lee will remember when you were there for them. And they'll be there for you.
Thanks, Patton.
That's
Don't
also
mention
not a
it, kiddo.
reason.
Yeah, because it still falls into the mindset of people should only do things for other people, which requires expecting other people to do anything you need or want for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Okay.
isn't fair.
A little cynical, but inherently you can't trust people as a whole. You cannot rely on people for things without explicitly telling, getting consent, etc. Like, if you're hurt, you can't reliably know that someone is going to be there and help you.
Yeah.
And if you are lying there hurt, you cannot guarantee that everybody is going to stop and help you, even if you would stop and help them. It's technically the right thing to do, but right is, what's the word? Relative?
Or subjective, maybe?
Subjective, yeah. But doing
Yeah.
what's right is kind of relative too. Because the right thing might be to help you, but the right thing might be not to. It all depends. There could
Yeah.
be lots of other things going on, and things aren't simple in life.
Yeah.
Nothing is stupid simple all the time.
Yeah. I also...
Doing it just so other people will help you is for purely selfish and negative reasons.
Mhm.
And if you're going to help somebody, it should be because you want to help them, not because you want something from them. That's manipulation inherently. Like, you don't help somebody move because you want them to help you want them to help you move later. If that's the condition they set, that's different. But if you go into it with that expectation, you're then going to be mad at them when they don't help because you helped them, and that's not fair.
Yeah, because
Nobody
you set an
owes
expectation
anybody
they didn't
anything.
agree to.
Yeah. Nobody owes you anything, and you don't owe anybody else anything. Ever. You don't owe someone your time, emotions, or energy, and they don't owe you the same thing.
You're imagining a contract they didn't sign.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's also there's another layer to this that comes up a lot in like moral conversations, of it not just being good to help someone even if it hurts you, but it's somehow being even morally better to help someone in a way that hurts you. And I think that is almost a fundamentally toxic idea.
I think that's a completely backwards idea.
Because the idea that it shows just how selfless I am, that I was willing to go through so much pain to myself in order to help someone else,
That's a conceited
I
thought.
personally believe straight up supports self-harm.
Yeah, but that's also a egotistical, self-inflating point of view of,
Yeah, it's
oh
a
yeah, I am
hero
obviously
mindset.
such a good person because I did this.
Yeah.
It's narcissistic. And it doesn't make you a better person to help someone even though it hurts you. It would make you a better person to help them with the way that hurts people the least. So if you can think of helping someone, but it would hurt you to do it, and you figure out a way that would help them without hurting you, that would be the better thing to do and make you the better person for doing it.
I also think it overall comes down to moral ideas being inherently complex, and that it's unfair to have a personal expectation, and particularly unfair to have an expectation on anyone else, to know and also perform the absolute best moral high ground option available. Because I think being allowed to fail is important. Being allowed to not know all of the options or the consequences of all of the options is important. And I think there can be a lot of decision paralysis involved if you hold yourself to too high of a standard with these things. Anyway, just a couple minutes left.
You know. Ding! Going down. Oof. Well, nothing like a day that starts with me getting good news and ultimately leads to me questioning if I'm a bad person. I mean, I am selfish at times, and I am well aware now of my capacity for deception, but Patton's right. I do also have empathy, and I should acknowledge and celebrate that as well. Empathy isn't a blindfold. It's our ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Sometimes what seems right might also seem difficult, but listen to your empathy, because you might be sparing yourself some future guilt by doing good for someone else. Until next time, take it easy, guys.
I would argue that just because you feel guilty doesn't mean you're wrong, because a lot of people have been shamed, and that's a big social thing, actually, for manipulative people and narcissists to feel guilty or to incite guilt in someone to get them to do things. Like, but what would your parents think or whatever? It's like, I don't care what my parents think. It's like, well, that makes you a bad person because they would feel awful. It's like, no, it's my life.
Yeah.
They don't get to run it, kind of thing. Like, if I change my name or change my hair color or transition or whatever else, like, that argument is just so easily defeated by, this is my life, not theirs, but they'll feel guilty, or this is what they would want, or they would be willing to help you if you didn't do this. It's like, good for them. They're the bad person then, not me.
Yeah. I also, it just clicked one of the things that felt like such a huge red flag about this mentality, which is that it is a mentality that keeps people in abusive relationships because they prioritize the other person's needs and wants and feelings over their own, and they think that they are a good, selfless person because they are helping this person they care about despite the amount of pain that they're in. And you don't owe anyone the opportunity to abuse you.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. So, I knew there was something really specific like that was bothering me about the mentality, and it finally clicked. That exact idea of, but they need me, I can handle it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would be a bad person for abandoning them, causing them that much pain. All of those ideas. Alright. I think there's a tiny bit. There should be an end card, but there might be the rest of the ad first. And I will edit that out if there is.
Gals and non-binary pals, peace out. Well, at least after all that, I still have these delicious Butterfingers. No, Thomas, candy has no nutritional value. Let the dude have some candy. He's had a tough day. Oh, do you want him to have a tough life? It's made with peanuts. Those are protein-packed legumes. Yeah, it's also made with molasses, corn syrup, and sugar. He needs to eat his HelloFresh salsa verde enchiladas for actual sustenance. Guys, ooh, apologies, Thomas. I thought you were looking in that direction. Now look what you've done. You give him the candy. No! Give him the candy. He doesn't need it. Guys, I don't even want it anymore, please.
Poor Thomas. So, thank you so much for watching. As always, special thanks to our patrons. The link to our Patreon, if you want to check it out, is in the description box as always, along with our Discord server and our Etsy shop, etc., etc. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll put some videos and playlists and things on the screen that you can check out. And yeah. Thanks
also
for watching.
subscribe on Patreon to make this stuff more doable.
Become a patron even on Patreon.
I said that.
It's not called subscribing.
Oh.
But yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye.